I guess, or the notes from the last meeting, and then jump into the elections, and then turn the meeting over to the chair for the rest of the meeting. But any questions before we do that? All right. Well, I appreciate everybody being here, and I really do look forward to getting to know each and every one of you. I've had a chance to meet a few of you, but definitely a small part of the group overall. So thank you for the welcome that I've gotten from many of you, and I look forward to continuing some great things for the district. So with that, it is 5:34, and as facilitator of the meeting, temporary facilitator Mike Bork calls this meeting to order for the District Advisory Committee on August 11th, 2021. There in our agenda, the first item on the agenda is the approval of the DAC meeting summary from July 14th. Did everybody get a copy of that? Had a chance to look at that? Are there any changes or additions, corrections that need to be made to those minutes? Okay, seeing none, they can stand as approved. And we're going to move right into the annual election of officers. This will be in the future handled by the outgoing chair. But because we do not have that, I will be acting in the facilitator role. By our bylaws, in Article 5, we have 3 positions that we're going to be electing this evening. And following Robert's Rules of Order, we're going to follow the order in which they are listed in the bylaws. And those positions are chairperson, vice chairperson, and secretary. Again, that's chairperson, vice chairperson, and secretary in that order. The process that I'll use is open up nominations for each position individually. The person who is nominated has to accept for it to be valid, and then we'll close the nominations. After that, each candidate has the opportunity to speak for up to 2 minutes on why they would like to be the chair or vice chair or secretary. After each person has had a chance to speak, we will hold a roll call vote, who is going to be administrating that?
Rochelle.
Okay, Rochelle will be taking care of that, okay. And then once that position is elected, we'll move on to the next position. Is everybody clear on the process?
I had one clarification. Well, earlier, Commissioner Savas did have his hand raised on the previous item, so I don't know if he needed to speak. And then we are just going to be electing a chair and a vice chair. We have a staff member, Jessica May, who is our secretary that's assigned to this committee, and Commissioner Savas is our liaison.
Right, I knew that. I just hadn't realized when I was going through the bylaws that we had an internal secretary. Okay, thank you for the clarification. Mm-hmm. Commissioner Savas, I apologize, I did not see your hand up.
Yeah, because we have Councilor Nicodemus with us today, I thought maybe we could just do introductions so everyone knows each other. But I don't want to interrupt the flow, but I just thought it'd be just a courtesy to everyone. So
this would be an appropriate time. We haven't done any nominations or anything. So I've taken care of my introduction. Mike Bork, NCPRD District Director. Mr. Nicodemus, would you like to follow?
Yeah. I'm Desi Nicodemus, City Councilor from Milwaukee. And
then you get to choose the next person of who gets to be introduced, since all our names are on here.
Okay. Joel.
Thanks, Desi. Hey, nice to meet you, Michael, even virtually. I'm Joel Bergman. I'm the representative for the community centers. I'm serving on the CCAB for the Milwaukee Center. I'm glad you made it out there today, and it's good to see everyone today. And are we continuing me choosing folks? Oh, yeah. Okay. How about Ben?
Thanks, Joel. My name is Ben Johnson, and I'm a representative from sub-area Milwaukee. glad to be here today, and good to see that we've got a great experienced director that is coming from probably a place similar to NCPRD that probably has financial issues and a very quirky place. So welcome aboard, Michael.
Thank you.
And I will pick Aneta. Aneta?
You'd never guess it's Anita.
Ah,
But hi, everybody. I'm from sub area 2. Glad to be here. Glad to see everybody. I'm glad that we had all those parks tours and chances to meet each other and develop some connection already. And I will pick Heather.
Hi, everybody. I'm Heather Cook on staff with NCPRD, and it's great to see everybody. I will turn it to Jan.
Hello, I'm Jan Albrecht, and I am from District 3. And it's good to see everybody. I wish we were face to face, but this is an awfully good solution at this time. So welcome, Michael. We're glad you're here. And thank you, Candy, for the time you've given us in this position. Grover?
I'm Grover Jeffrey Bornefeld, and I'm a resident of sub-area 1. And I'm thrilled to be here and looking forward to our time moving forward. And I choose Deborah.
Hi, Deborah Bukowski, and I'm also in sub-area 1. And Grover and I and Ben and Joel, I don't think I'm missing anybody, and Paul, of course, served on the previous board.
Nice to meet you. Who do you choose to go next?
David. You need to.
You're muted, David.
I have to find the right spot, sorry. Yeah, my name is David Gelman. I'm sub area 4, which is unincorporated Westmount, Scott, and Milwaukee. And I will go with, let's see, I'll point one direction. Let's see who hasn't been there. Kevin?
I'm Kevin Caseman. I'm the Parks and Facilities Manager for the North Clackamas Parks and Rec District. This is a little like a memory game. You have to remember. I'm gonna go with Paul Savas.
Good afternoon, everyone. Paul Savas, Clackamas County Commissioner, NCPRD Board Director. I am here as your liaison. And I will pick Melina.
Hi, everyone. Melina DiFrancesco, NCPRD staff, and I'm going to pick Luca.
I feel like we need Post-it notes to cover everybody's faces.
This is a fun icebreaker game.
All right, this is sort of fun. My name is Luca. I am sub area 3. I am Jan's partner in crime. I also sit as a volunteer on the budget committee. So Mike, welcome to the family. And as of last week, I am now a member of the North Clackamas Masters swim team.
Oh.
We'll see how long that lasts. 5 a.m. in the water is very early, but happy to be here. And I pick, who am I missing? Tanya?
Hi, Tanya Williamson, NCPRD staff, and I'm going to choose Jan.
Jan, I think already went.
Mm-hmm. I'm going to pick Rochelle.
Hi, Rochelle Bonzi, and I'm filling in for Jessica tonight.
Perfect.
I'm an NCPRD employee.
Excellent, thank you. And I think if I'm looking at everybody's names, I think we just have not heard from Maureen.
I was going to say, I may be last, and Maureen. Go ahead, Maureen.
Hi, thank you. I'm Maureen. I'm in sub area 4, and welcome, Michael. And I would hope we have a nice forum tonight. Thank you.
Thank you. And Candy.
I'm Candy Ho, Recreation Services Manager for North Clackamas Parks and Recreation District.
All right. Well, thank you all for playing my memory grid game. So moving back into our annual election of officers. To recap, we are going to be doing the president or the chair and the vice chair positions. And as soon as that is over, I will turn that over to the chair. So we will officially then open nominations for the position of chair. Again, we will open the nominations for the position of chair. Are there nominations? Oh, I see. Sorry, Ben, I saw your hand go up first.
Yeah, I don't know if this person's going to accept the nomination, but I would like to nominate Joel because he's representing the community centers, which is not related to a specific sub area. So I feel like he would be coming at this having a more comprehensive vision of the district, as well as unbiased to any sub area, which we all should be anyway. So sorry, Joel.
Okay, so there's a nomination for Joel Bergman. Joel, do you accept the nomination?
Sure, yes.
Okay, Joel has accepted the nomination. Are there other nominations? Anita, so you had your hand up.
Yes, I'd like to nominate Grover Bornefeld. And he really knows the territory already, having been on the DAB before, been involved in all the bylaws revisions, worked on the task force that came after that. And I could list a lot of things, but I'll let him represent himself.
Okay, a nomination for Grover Bornefeld has been submitted. Grover Bornefeld, do you accept the nomination?
I do. Thank you very much.
Okay, the nomination has been accepted. Are there other nominations for the position of chair? Internally, I'm counting to 5 so that you don't think I'm just staring at y'all. I do not see any other nominations pending for the position of chair. So as it stands, we have Joel Bergman and Grover Bornefeld nominated for the position of chair. I will turn this over to the election process. Are we doing, is there are we going to pop up a ballot, or how did we decide that we were going to do that now that I'm thinking about this?
I thought we were going to have a chance to speak.
You are very right. I apologize. That's why we haven't figured it out, because it's not that time yet, Mr. Bornefeld. So going in the order of the nominations, we're going to have 2 minutes for each candidate to speak on their nomination, starting with Joel Bergman. Your 2 minutes will start when you begin to speak.
Thank you for the nomination. I caught a little surprised by it, but I'll gladly accept it. Joel Bergman, like Grover and a few others in the room, was part of the DAB and kind of trudged through the bylaws, the rewriting of the bylaws. So have some history there. I was born and raised in the district, actually, and have lived here most all of my life. Currently, I'm serving, as I mentioned earlier, on the county advisory board to the Milwaukee Center, was our community center representative. The makeup of that board is pretty representative of the actual district as a whole, which is nice to get that input, at least as it pertains to the Milwaukee Center. Not really prepared with notes here, but as far as other boards and affiliations, been a member of the Clackamas County Peace Officers Benevolent Foundation for about 8 years that serves the Clackamas County area. Member of the Milwaukee Rotary Club, former president of the Milwaukee Rotary Club, current foundation treasurer, serve on the City of Milwaukee's Utility Advisory Board. And don't really know what else to say to sell to y'all. Hopefully, like everyone else in this room, have an interest in the district as a whole moving forward, and hoping that that we can make some good progress. So I appreciate the nomination, Ben, and look forward to seeing what everyone does.
Okay, thank you, Joel, for your statement. Grover, you have 2 minutes, but we'll start when you begin.
Thank you all. I've been a Jennings Lodge resident for the last 31 years, and I've been active in my local community planning organization, on the library board, now on the Parks Board, and several other local activities. But my background was for 25 years, I ran a nonprofit that was community-based, that worked with high-risk teenagers and trained community volunteers to have extraordinary results, and we were the top rated program in the entire Bay Area. So that's my recent background. Before that, I was a pilot in the Air Force. So what I'm excited about is the direction and change. We're 30 years into this experiment with NCPRD. It was designed to provide parks and recreation for the unincorporated North Clackamas area. And we are now a district with a district manager, as well as a direct report, and we get to look forward for what's the next 30 years to look like. The thing I want to speak to is that in 1991 and 92, it was designed to have something much closer to what we have now, to have 5 sub areas called neighborhood advisory boards, and they each would send a representative to a regional board. But the point of it was to get local citizens involved. And my biggest concern is that for us to go forward with all the talking about, we don't have enough money, we have to look at it differently. How do we get more people engaged? And how do we get more people engaged with their local parks, et cetera? So we now have a proportional representation where 80% of the population is represented. Every approximately 10,000 people has a representative sitting here. And it is a chance to dig deep and be one district, which is a repair job we still need to do because we were separated. So as we sit now, I just want you to say that being one district requires us to look at the vision for the entire district, not sub areas. And the value of sub areas is we have eyes to see the things that we didn't see before.
Thank you, Grover. Your time is unfortunately up, but I appreciate the comments. Thank you. Okay, I believe if I'm understanding things, because there's 2 nominations, we're going to need to do essentially a hand vote, unless we want to do an out call vote that you just name out which one you're voting for. Because it's hard to see everybody's hands and I don't want to make a mistake, we'll do an out call vote. So will you call the roll and just indicate Joel or Grover? Who's calling the roll?
I will.
Okay.
Does Paul have a vote in this?
No.
Okay.
No.
So Joel Bergman.
I'll vote for myself.
Okay. Deborah Bukowski.
Can I split my vote?
Unfortunately, no.
I think they're both very, very qualified. I'll vote for Grover.
Grover Bornefeld.
You're muted.
You got to turn your mute off.
It was a test if you could read my lips. I vote for myself.
And Anada Blackmar.
I'll vote for Grover.
Ryan's not here. I'm sorry. Luca.
Grover.
Jen Albrecht.
Grover.
David Gilman.
Grover.
Maureen Tom.
Thank you, both candidates. I like to vote for Mr. Bornefeld.
Desi Nicodemus.
Joe.
And Ben Johnson.
Joel.
So I see that we're missing one, so that's why there's 10 votes, right?
Yes.
Okay, cool.
So I have 7 for Grover Bornefeld and 3 for Joel Bergman.
Okay, so the new chair is Grover Bornefeld, sorry. Grover, would you like to handle the vice chair, or would you like me to handle that and then turn it over?
I'd be happy to do it. And it's, for all those, it's 3 syllables, Bornefeld.
Thank you.
But anything is fine. I've been called all kinds of nasty stuff.
Okay. Well, as facilitator at 5:54 p.m., I'm turning the meeting over to the newly elected chair, Grover Bornefeld, to finish the elections.
Thank you. And thank you all, both Joel and all. I really appreciate all the work that everybody's put into this. And I'm looking forward to working together to create the next 30 years and getting us off to the races. So we are now looking at the election of a vice chair, and I assume we'll follow the same model. So we're open for nominations for vice chair. Yes, Jan.
I nominate Joel.
Any other nominations? I'll do Mike's trick, 5 seconds looking at you. Okay, going once, twice. So I would understand that with no alternate candidate, by acclamation, Joel is selected. That's how
If
I
he says
understand it.
yeah.
Oh,
He has to accept the nomination.
Sorry.
I'd still like to do another stump speech, though. Maybe I could refine it this time, but no, I would happily accept the nomination. I appreciate it. Thank you.
Super. All righty. Well, thank you all. And as we heard, the secretary position is that Jessica? Is that who serves in that role normally? And we have a substitute for today. Is that correct?
That is correct. I'm substituting for Jessica.
Thank you so much. Okay, so then the next item is the discussion agenda, and it says no action required. And we're going to talk about, I assume we'll get a presentation about the park at Boardman Wetlands and the park naming. So who will be speaking?
That will be Tanya.
Okay, thank you, Tanya.
So, yeah.
Can everyone see my screen?
Yeah, it advanced a few slides away from the title, but
So, should I begin?
Yeah, actually, hold on one second. I'm experiencing, I need to get out of this technical difficulties here. It's frozen, so 1 second, please.
I was having some computer issues right before we got on.
Sharing, let me try that again. All right, one more time.
Yay. That doesn't look like the Boardman wetland.
We can't hear you, Melina.
It was the beginning of the presentation. Can you not advance?
I can't advance. So if it's all right with everyone, I'm just going to pull up the PDF version and we can go that route. Sorry, thanks for your patience.
Wonders of technology.
Well, that, and we've been at the Zoom thing for so long, all of us have made every possible thing that didn't go right happen and have been helpless to just watch it. So you're in good company.
Thank you.
I have it if you need me to share it.
Nope, I got it. One more time. Here we go. Third time's a charm.
It's all good.
All right. We are going to provide an update about the Bergman property naming. Yay. Okay. As a review, you see the blue star in the southwest portion of the NCPRD district. Okay, next slide. Okay, so the project background, about 6-acre nature park was developed in partnership with Oak Lodge Water Services Districts. The main features of the site include a raised boardwalk, trail, outdoor learning areas, nature playground. A lot of restoration occurred at the site, and then other park amenities, including benches, picnic tables, a parking lot, and pervious sidewalk paths. Okay, so a review of the naming. So in September of 19, the park was still under construction, but construction was coming to an end. Or there was a couple of issues, but we thought it was going to be ending very soon. Oak Lodge Water Service District sent NCPRD a name recommendation, Jennings Lodge Nature Park. NCPRD staff worked with the DAB board chair to place the naming on the agenda. So in November, it was placed on the agenda as a future agenda item. And in January, it was an agenda item and the DAB voted and approved Jennings Lodge Nature Park. In February, we received a new letter recommendation from Oak Lodge Water Services District. And of course, in March, COVID started. And this was also when the DAB was transitioning to the DAC. Construction was wrapping up at that point, and we were unfortunately excited for a grand opening as construction ended, but due to a lot of changes happening all at once, we weren't able to finish the naming process. We did, however, do a soft opening for the site after construction was finished, and that happened in October. Okay, next slide. So the soft opening, it made the park available to the community during a time when outdoor spaces were more important than ever. We engaged residents and educated them on this new park site. Our goal was to invite people to the site by providing both virtual and on-site information and activities like a scavenger hunt and like time-lapse videos of the nature playground development. Careful not to draw crowds and knowing that we would be working with Oak Lodge to gather for a grand opening at a later date. Okay, yeah. So moving forward, once a site is named, we normally host a grand opening. We would finalize all of the park signage. We're going to probably apply for awards and build on additional partnerships. The grand opening, these are visuals of what we might do at a grand opening. It's a chance to celebrate with residents, staff, partners, elected officials, welcome residents to the park to enjoy recreation, build partnerships, stewardship, and community. We like to share a deeper understanding about the site development with project posters and signage. We typically have short statements by staff, like DAC members, Oak Lodge Water Service District boards, elected officials, partners, and we like to provide activities such as live music, educational tours, and then some of those pieces of that we've already created, like scavenger hunt and coloring prints. And so, you know, as a site is named, we typically host a grand opening soon after. So we could even maybe host one this fall. So now I'm gonna turn this over to Mike to explain where we are at now and next steps.
Now I'll say that with the mute off. Thank you, Tanya, for that presentation and review of where we're at. So where we need to look at going from here, just to recap, the original name of Jennings Lodge Nature Park was recommended and voted and approved by the DAB. Following the naming confirmation, though, we got this new potential name, adding the word wetland into Jennings Lodge Wetland Nature Park. That was never brought back before the DAB or the DAC now to consider that. So we need some sort of action or lack of action. And what I mean by that is, as it stands, the DAB, which is still this legal body still, has an active name that was recommended, and we would move forward with that. But if the board would like to take up and reconsider and bring up the naming again and consider a different name, we would look to add that on to next month's agenda and start the process for naming again. Our recommendation for staff is to go with the recommended initial name, but that's just our recommendation. But I will try and give you our recommendation at any time we've got these things. It's up to you to decide as a group what you want to do with this. Either let it stand as it is and we'll move forward with the grand opening plans, or if we need to reconsider, we will take the action after that's been decided. And that concludes, I believe that's the last slide. Is that correct? For this portion?
Yes.
Okay. So I will turn this back over to Chair Bornefeld.
Thank you, sir. I see Ben's hands up. Go ahead, Ben.
Yeah, I wanted to clarify. So the staff recommendation is to keep it Jennings Lodge Nature Park, which was the original proposal from OLWS. And now OLWS wants to include the word wetland in the name of the park, and that the district is not in favor of that.
My understanding is that the OLWS group really did not have a strong opinion one way or the other. And for us to be able to move forward with the park, that's purely why our recommendation is the action's been taken and we can move forward. But that's why we're bringing it back for you all. If you think that you want to reconsider because of the new recommendation, that's completely up to you.
Okay. Well, I see that my hand's up. So I actually was involved in that meeting in January. I was in the Caribbean. I called in on the phone, and I was on the phone for the first 20 minutes of the meeting and I'd been on prior. When I finally got pulled into the meeting, they already had revised the minutes and voted on that item. I, at that time, was the vice chair of the Jennings Lodge CPO. Our CPO had specifically requested that it have the wetland name in it. So after what occurred, I brought that up. There was a 5-4 vote to not reconsider it, and it moved on. So then the Oak Lodge Water Services heard from a number of community members, and they all understood, because currently it is in loose parlance called the Bergman wetlands. And they talked about all the other wetlands, and we had a number of nature specialists, et cetera. So the only reason they care to call it anything was Jennings Lodge, to honor that it is in the middle of Jennings Lodge. And Nature Park is fine too, but Jennings Lodge Wetlands Nature Park is very clear, because it is its primary feature other than being in Jennings Lodge. So that's how it got to be that way. And that is why the Oak Lodge Water Services people and the Jennings Lodge CPO all voted to have the name be the Jennings Lodge Wetland Nature Park. So I would advocate that, because it was done, but I sat there and was waiting to be in that meeting and didn't have a chance to influence the conversation. It says exactly in the NCPRD naming policy that if CPOs are involved, their input is to be considered. And I was a representative of that board at that time. And so I assert that it is time to consider, what does the community want? It is in the middle of Jennings Lodge. They want it to be the Jennings Lodge Wetland Nature Park. And so I advocate that we do what we need to do to have this body vote on it. Yes, Joel.
I guess just looking at this from just as a user, as a district member, I guess speaking freely, my Jennings Lodge Wetland Nature Park sounds cluttered to me. The primary feature of this is the wetland. I would imagine in fact, when we did the park tour, I think there was already, maybe there wasn't signage indicating the features of the wetland, pointing out that it's a wetland. I mean, the whole point of bringing the classroom setting down that was set up down there, everything to indicate that it's a wetland. I don't think anything's being glossed over by not including that in the name. Again, from kind of an audio aesthetic, the Jennings Lodge Nature Park sounds much cleaner to me. But I mean, I'm open to hear everyone's opinion on this. I kind of like the way it stands now.
So let me clarify where we are. Just a second, Anita. Are we actually deciding whether it is going to stay or not stay? Or are we deciding whether we're going to have a subsequent session and deal with it? I understood it was the latter.
Procedurally, if we're bringing it up as a new topic item again, we should publicly notice it and allow members of the public to weigh in on it versus discussing it here. So
Okay.
My suggestion, if that's the direction that the chair, and it sounds like there needs to be discussion, we would put it on as an action item in next month's agenda.
Okay, great. Anita?
I just wonder if anybody ever considered Jennings Lodge Wetland Park. To keep it short, but to have the wetland aspect.
Go ahead, Ben.
I want to stand behind what the previous decision was. Grover came in, your technical malfunctions were addressed by the group having the opportunity to vote on whether to reconsider or not, and that's what we did. And now we're back at the table spending time, and if the name changes, it's going to spend time and money on the effort. And to be honest, there is a precedent out there, whether the site was an upland forest or a wetland or something in between, that a nature park represents any type of habitat that it is. So Mount Talbert is not called Mount Talbert Upland Forest Nature Park. It's called Mount Talbert Nature Park. Likewise, there's other amenities here besides the wetland. There's a boardwalk, There's a nature play area. We don't want to call it Boardman Wetlands Nature Play Boardwalk Nature Park. I mean, by saying nature park, there's just like a conjuring of what it could be. Yeah, there's wetlands out there, but there's also other things. You know, maybe in 20 years, it won't be a wetlands. Maybe it'll be something else, but hopefully it'll still be nature.
Well, thank you for that. I appreciate your input. And I suppose we have to put it to a vote of this current group, whether we're going to move it forward or not, because there seems to be some resistance to having the whole group do it as a public meeting with a public notice. But I also want to clarify, Ben, you said it was my technical difficulties, and I didn't have any. It was the staff failure to bring me in. I never called back or anything. I texted multiple people over that whole 20 minutes, and finally they brought me in. So it wasn't my technical problem. It was the staff's failure to include me in the meeting. And I don't think it was intentional, but it wasn't my technical. Go ahead, Ben.
We readdressed it though when you came in. Like you said, we voted on whether to bring it back up or move on. And you gave your opinion and we moved on. As a group, it was a consensus. And in the spirit of volunteering and consensus, I think we need to live by that and not go back in time.
Well, it isn't really up to that because the Oak Lodge Water Services resubmitted a letter with their recommendation with community input. And several members of that body, that board, are also members of the community planning organization for Jennings Lodge. And there was a significant amount of discussion there. And more importantly than all of those, the fact that it sits in the middle of Jennings Lodge as a resource, and that our new direction is to listen to the community, not be the group that decides stuff. So based on that, I would like to propose we poll this particular voting body as to whether to move it forward or not, and let that decide it, as opposed to an opinion in one direction or another. So what do I have to do to be able to successfully put this to a poll as to whether we put it on the agenda?
It should be an action. So somebody would make a motion to have this placed on the agenda, and it needs to be seconded and then voted on.
Can I make the motion?
As the chair, that's typically not what I recommend, but there's nothing wrong with it.
Fine. Would someone like to make a motion? I'm be happy to hear one. Okay. The Jennings Lodge community will hear how this body works.
And again, Chair, you can bring a motion forward. I'm not saying it's improper. It's just usually left to the chair to not do that. But if there's a motion that you want to put before, you can, and it would need to be seconded.
I appreciate that. If somebody's not going to first it, then it's probably not going to be seconded. So I don't necessarily go through that drill, but I will finish with my focus is that we need to increase community involvement. And when the Jennings Lodge CPO and the Oak Lodge Water Services both made a recommendation post the vote that was taken in January, I think it's appropriate to listen to, but I can't make this any different. So that being complete, department introduction, asset development.
Thank you. And we're going to turn this over to Heather, who is going to give us this great overview of asset development.
Thank you, Mike, and thank you, Grover. Again, I'm Heather Cook, and I work in the asset development group. And you might be wondering what exactly asset development means. So part of the reason we're doing this very brief intro tonight is to just kind of one by one do some brief overviews of our departments or divisions so that you will have a better understanding of how we operate and who we are as a staff. So it'll be pretty short and sweet, but it'll give you a little bit of an overview. Hope it'll help you in the future. Really the purpose of all of our departments is to support the mission, and that mission you probably sort of remember is to enrich community vitality and provide healthy living through parks and recreation. So the way asset development does that specifically is we do the planning, the acquisition, and the development of the parks, trails, natural areas, and facilities. So how do we actually support that mission, functionally day to day? The most fundamental thing is long range planning and shorter term planning, because that is what allows us to go ahead and proceed with things like project development and funding, acquisition of parkland, and basically taking care of the things that we have. Without the planning, we don't have the priorities and the focus to do the other work. So all of the work of asset development sort of goes together, but without the planning, it would be hard to do any of the other things. So that's always kind of where we start and where we go back to. The long range plan for NCPRD, we call it a system plan. It can also be called a comprehensive plan or a master plan. But essentially it sets the strategic direction for us, how we're going to enhance our system of parks, recreational facilities, trails, and open space, a roadmap, if you will. Our first plan was when the district was formed in 1990, and we developed a second plan in 2004. Our third plan in 2015 was a draft. It was not approved. And now we are working on developing the staff team and the consultant team to embark on a new system plan for the district. And one of the things that's really important about the system plan is not just the outcome per se, but the process. So the system plan really gives us a chance to have the kind of dialogue with the community so that the community can really be empowered to craft that vision of what the future of the district looks like. Because without the input of the community, we don't know what people want. We can't provide what they need. So the system plan is really very much rooted in also community engagement. The capital improvement plan, you might have heard this mentioned in the past. Sometimes we, call it CIP for short. It basically is an outgrowth of the system plan. So we develop a system plan. It might be broad, have broad aspirational goals, but then we also break it down into things that are more actionable, things like, priorities and actions. And so the capital improvement plan is a specific list, basically. It's a tool for helping to implement the physical part of the plan. It lists priority projects for the district, and it ultimately also estimates costs so that we can develop a CIP that matches what we think our funding sources will be. Part of that is also indicating what the eligibility is for system development charges. And we'll talk about those more at another meeting, but essentially system development charges are charges that we collect in the district from new development so that we can meet the growing need with growing capacity in the district. And then capital projects, that's part of what asset development does as well. And whether you have a smaller project like Wichita Park, or our recent really multifaceted project like the Borgman Wetland project, whether we're talking about a district-wide amenity like Milwaukee Bay Park or even the Concord property, all of the projects basically contain the same elements regardless of their size and complexity. We always spend time planning and designing those projects. Involved in planning and design, an essential part of it is coordinating with partners, engaging with the public, and also securing funding. We can't get very far to confirm ideas or move them forward without those really important elements. And then ultimately, we work with our jurisdictional partners to obtain approvals and permits so that we can actually construct the project. And with that, that is the overview of asset development. And I'm actually going to roll right into this next part because this is part I'll be presenting to you tonight as well. So speaking of capital projects, one of our, we want to be able to put a district-wide spotlight or a spotlight on some of the district-wide projects that we are currently engaged in. and one of them is Milwaukee Bay Park. So many of you are familiar with the park. I know to various degrees, but I think most of you are pretty familiar with this location. It is on the western edge of the district, sort of on the north side, right along the Willamette River. And the project itself is a district-wide amenity. It is a project that we're doing jointly with the city of Milwaukee in order to essentially make it happen. We want to create a recreational waterfront in this location, building on what is already there. We're also creating a place to provide space where people can gather, play, rest, kind of all the things you think of when you think of recreation. And we're also building on 20 years of investment that has gone in already. So I wanted to give you a little bit of a highlight of all the work that has been done to date, because it's really important. The place that we are now is still very ambitious, but it's also built on a number of steps that happened previously. So this doesn't go exactly across the slide, but in 2012, over on the right-hand side of the slide, which is north, 2012 Klein Point was opened. That was considered phase one of a plan that the city had developed and led and brought through planning approvals in 2010. And it's a beautiful lookout over the mouth of Johnson Creek, where the creek falls out into the Willamette. In 2014-15, the city led phase two of the overall 2010 design, and that developed a number of features, most prominently the boat ramp that you see out there today, the parking lots both north and south of Kellogg Creek, and a lot of improvements of the riverbank. We unfortunately experienced in this area a very large flood very soon after this was built, within about 6 months. And it did do some serious damage to the newly implemented bank, as well as the old bridge. So the city did some unanticipated work, emergency work, with some help from FEMA, and did a bridge replacement project in 2017-18. And then that's showing up on the south end, on the left-hand side of your slide. And that was advantageous because it made room for pedestrians and bicycles that really had a much more challenging time sharing a very skinny bridge that was meant for cars previously. And then in 2018-19, they went back and looked at the bank and why it had failed in that flood, and recognized the strength of those natural events, and went in and did a bank repair. So the project has had 2 official phases and 2 emergency phases. And this blue area that you're seeing here is the area that we are working to improve in partnership with the city of Milwaukee. It's approximately 3.5 acres. So why this project? I've sort of mentioned a couple of reasons that pertain to the why, but you know, it is a prime riverfront location that we really want to take advantage of and provide access to for the entire district community. This location in particular has some pretty impressive connections to transit trails and local business. It also is a chance to bring more recreational amenities, so we can really, excuse me, really bring more of a multi-generational feel to this park and more multi-use. The park itself today has some wonderful amenities, but it can serve more people in more ways. And then finally, it becomes really a featured destination along our trolley trail. The trolley trail was an extremely large investment for NCPRD and our partners. It's been really successful, and that 6-mile trail will have a much enhanced destination along it with the improvements at the park. One of the things I just wanted to underscore is the connectivity of this site. Obviously, it has access to and from the river, which is exciting. You don't get that on every park property. We also have access from McLaughlin Boulevard, Oregon 99E, but we also have some important connections to transit. We have the Orange Line station just a couple of blocks away, as well as several bus stops and crossings across 99 that were specifically enhanced to provide park connections several years ago, and which ODOT is still working to make improvements to on a regular basis. So we have all of that, and just the connectivity with a commercial area that provide some opportunities for synergy. Along the way of the design, with the design, we did a lot of public engagement work to really listen to what the community wanted to see in a district-wide amenity. We reached over 1,300 people, and that was including 3 sort of traditional public workshops, but not completely traditional. One was a beautiful outdoor event that we had in the park that August of 2018. We did a couple of online surveys. We also did smaller stakeholder group meetings. And we, over the course of the project, have been able to do project updates and business meeting items with our NCPRD board as well. So the final design, I'm not gonna go through every details and every detail. We do have more information on MilwaukeeBayPark.org, but I'm gonna just go through the major features, kind of the major elements. One being the lawn and amphitheater area, another being the play area. And then adjacent to that, the water feature, which is meant to be interactive and work together with the play area. And then we have a restroom and an entry plaza and a picnic area that work together really well. You can see the restroom in red and the picnic area and plaza in that yellow color. And then natural areas. We have more natural areas on the bank today, but nothing really above the riverside paths. So we have an opportunity here to really enhance these areas to make them more natural. And finally, the trolley trail, that gray color sort of sneaks in there, but today we have a trolley trail alignment out there that is temporary. It has some challenges in terms of not meeting standards for width and having some kind of funky turns and connections. So part of the goal of this project is to make that alignment permanent and make it much more safer and intuitive for people using it. Accessibility is a big goal for this project. It's something we heard loud and strong from the community from all ages, and we also heard it from people of all abilities. One of the things that's nice out there today is you have a beautiful, beautiful site. It's really hard to get into the site for a lot of people that have any sort of mobility challenge because of the steepness and the unevenness of the temporary grading that was in 2015. So this plan is to really bring people into and through the site so they can enjoy, being mobile, recreating. So I'll flip through these pretty quickly with Melina, but this is a view from the water of the site, kind of looking from just a little bit upstream, just south, and comparing that to what you might see in the future with these elements portrayed through this rendering. So your kind of point of reference there is that big redwood tree in the middle. And then a little bit of a close-up on what that amphitheater area can look like. Very much meant to be a flexible area because you have special events, but then you have everyday use. So it needs to work for both. And then this scoots over a little bit and gives you a little bit of a glimpse of what the play area could look like, taking advantage of topography, what a water feature could look like, being connected, but also a little bit separate from the plaza. So we're a little bit set back from the street. And then this is a view looking south, looking upstream toward Elk Rock Island, comparing it with what it could look like in the future with a rendering. So there you get a sense of sort of the layering of the site. And then the next one, you scoot just a little bit further south past that coast redwood and turn, you get another nice view of the river. Again, beautiful, beautiful view today. In the future, making seizing the opportunity to provide more recreational amenities. So project timeline, we still have a number of things that we would need to do to make this project a reality. So I wanted to give you just a very quick overview of what those steps and possible timing could entail. So right now we're working on contracts for design and pre-construction that would lead us through the next phase of design work and also grant agreements. Provided we move forward with those, we would then be starting design and engineering, but also making sure we do all of the work that prepares us to be ready for construction, which include intergovernmental agreements, securing all the funding, obtaining all our permits and approvals, and also doing what's called a GMP amendment. And I won't go into the details, but it just means establishing a guaranteed maximum price. And until you do that, you don't move into construction. So once you can develop an agreement on that, you can actually move into the construction phase. And we envision that the construction phase, based on what our design teams have told us, is going to be about 12 to 16 months once we can get shovels in the ground. And then I wanted to spend a few minutes on the draft funding plan. I'm not going to go into a really deep level of detail, but I think just if you kind of squint your eyes, you can see that this pie chart tells the story that this is a true funding partnership that takes place to make a project like this lift off the ground. We had a $9.6 million total project cost estimate in 2019, which is kind of the hard costs of construction at 8.2. And then the soft and indirect costs, which are things like design and permits, et cetera. When we look at our funding mix, we have a mix of NCPRD funds. We've got funds from OPRD, which is the Oregon Parks and Rec Department. One of those has a funding agreement. The other is a funding agreement that we were recommended for, but the agreement is not yet ready. We have some city funding that's coming in that we have an intergovernmental agreement for, some private donations that have been pledged. And then we have an unidentified amount that we would still need to get if we wanted to find full funding and do the full design. So we still have some work to do, and we have a lot of opportunities to make this a reality. But it is something that we will be discussing more going forward. And I guess I will leave it there. Thank you, guys.
Thank you. Next item is citizen participation. So do we have people in the audience who have identified that they wish to speak?
Grover?
Yes.
I don't think we were finished with the Milwaukee Bay Park. I thought there's going to be some explanation of the stuff that's been showing up in the paper recently about differences between the city and the Parks Department, the county.
Yeah, and Chair, may I?
Oh, please do.
So all of that is ongoing right now. And so I really am hesitant to provide any kind of details of where that is in the process. I can tell you that there is going to be talks going on between the city and the county administration with a construction IGA. But I don't want to get into great detail because quite honestly, the other meetings haven't happened yet. And so we don't know what the outcome of that is going to be. We wanted to try and really focus more on the actual capital project and regardless of the hurdles that or blockages that we've got now, how we envision the whole project overall having gone and where to go forward. But we can probably provide much more detail at next month's meeting because things will have hopefully moved on from there. But we're just about a day too early for us to have any kind of resolution.
Thanks, Mike, and thanks, Dave, for the question. I just want to clarify if my understanding is correct, agreeing with all that I've heard, is according to the approved budget for NCPRD that the District Advisory Committee will have a chance to weigh in on and approve some of those fundings before they're released. Is that correct? I could read the item off the budget. Does anyone know the answer to that?
I don't know specifically where you're talking about.
Well, on the items in the asset development capital projects, it says a cooperative IGA with the city of Milwaukee will be executed and SDC funding will be discussed with the district advisory committee prior to construction of the Milwaukee Bay Park. So that's on the bottom of multiple pages in the current budget. So
yeah, we'll be discussing SDC allocations with you as soon as we know what we're discussing.
Agreed.
Yeah, and all of these things are going to be brought to you, whether they're action items or informational items. As I told you in our meeting, and for everybody, my goal is to over-inform you. I want you to say, stop sending me information, and we want you to have all the information that you need. I just can't give you some of the information right now. But as far as future Milwaukee Bay updates and costs and before we move to construction, absolutely this group's going to be involved in some way, shape, or form.
Okay, good. Thank you. Any more on that topic? Who do I look to for clarification of citizen participation? Who has eyes on the audience?
I do, and I would ask that they raise their hand if they're wanting to speak. I have one hand.
Okay, so are you going to bring them in and also time them?
I will. They have 3 minutes, correct?
Well, sure. 3 minutes is customary. We had 2 minutes for the, that's okay. 3 minutes sounds fine with me.
Okay.
And we have Dick and Sally Shook that have raised their hand to speak at the meeting.
Go ahead, Dick and
Yeah,
Sally.
I just clicked on the hand. So anyway, I just want to make sure that the Milwaukee Bay Park is closely coordinated with the removal of the Kellogg Lake Dam, which we in the North Clackamas Watershed Coalition are actively working with the city of Milwaukee to remove the dam and restore the lower reaches of Kellogg Creek. That's about all I had. Thanks for your letting me speak, and I wasn't really prepared, but way to go, and I wish the new board lots of luck and good resource finding. Thank you.
Thank you, Dick, and thanks for all the work you've put in over all the years and still watching us and participating. Yes, Ben. Well, first of all, are we done with public comment? Or are you going to comment on
Yeah,
Dick?
I was going to respond to Dick, and I appreciate his comment because I know there's a big interest, not just locally, but regionally, about removing the Kellogg Creek Dam. And the master plan really kind of did not go near where the dam would be removed. It was kind of out of the scope of the master plan. We were far away over in the undeveloped portions of the park. So when that dam is removed, the idea is that a trail would go underneath the McLaughlin Boulevard to connect to the park. And a lot of that stuff will have to get figured out. But the master plan itself really did not, I don't think, had any detriment on that happening in the future. But it was really out of the scope of work, but we all look forward to that happening in the future. And appreciate your comments, Dick and Sally.
Great. So are there any other public comments in the queue?
I don't see that anyone else has raised their hand.
Very good. Moving on. The District Advisory Committee member reports. Please raise your hand if you would like to give a report as a District Advisory Committee member. Joel and Anita. Joel, you were up first.
I just wanted to quickly report to the district and anyone that's listening that the Friends of the Milwaukee Center have decided to cancel the upcoming Clack on Tap and Uncorked fundraiser set originally for August 28th due to the spike in COVID cases and pandemic related issues. That is not to say though that they aren't giving up on everything. They're still selling raffle tickets. So if you wish to support the Milwaukee Center, the nutrition program, Meals on Wheels, you can purchase raffle tickets even online. And I would encourage you all to share with your constituents, the people you report to, that this is still available. And let's help out the Milwaukee Center. It's a great district amenity.
Thank you, Joel. Anita.
Well, I just want to speak to something that has been happening actually, because I think it relates to the work of the DAC and also to Milwaukee Bay Park. And what I'd like to share is that I've experienced some emotional meltdown of sorts off and on about climate change since the first heat dome and how thick and fast all those changes are showing up. And so now when I look at anything to do with NCPRD decisions or matters, I see them in the context of climate change. And I've been reading that it's unrealistic to think that we're in a drought in some kind of rainfall anomaly, because what's really happening, according to some people, is that the whole Western United States is shifting into becoming an arid region. And with that in mind, I just wanted to say that my wish is that all our decisions and projects should reflect these new circumstances. And just in terms of concrete choices, one thing I thought of was maybe our parks will need to offer much more shade, either through structures or more tree canopy. And I was thinking about when you drive from Milwaukee to Portland on 99, there's a section alongside Westmoreland Park that's like an arcade of big maple trees, and how fabulous that is, and how bringing more of that to our parks might be a really good choice going forward. And that's basically it.
Great, thank you. I have a similar comment to make. My major focus going forward is one, that we have equity throughout the entire one whole district, but also with that, looking at that as we cut down, as I've watched hundreds and hundreds of trees, big mature trees go down in the last 4 or 5 years. I'd like to have us, with the same focus that Anita talked about, look what we can do representing the North Clackamas urban parks area. What can we do to try and preserve and or perpetuate a better tree canopy? There's no question in the science about how much difference it makes as far as carbon load, as far as shade, air conditioning costs, people dying or not. So I just want to echo that. Thank you for the lead in, Anita. Any other reports? Okay, seeing none. Next item, director's report.
And I really don't have anything today, folks. I appreciate all the support and welcome. I thank you for forbearance on our technical glitches at the beginning, but those are just the unfortunate things that are going to happen in technology. But I also want to thank the staff for their dedication, for being here to try and bring you guys up to speed as quickly as possible without overwhelming. So anticipate that, at each meeting, we're going to try and have a couple of different focuses and spotlights. Next month, we're going to try and give us a capital spotlight on the Concord School property, and bring you as up to speed as where we're at right now, and hopefully bring some of our challenges to you all to help us strategize through. And then we'll also be talking about SDCs in much more depth at next month's meeting as well. So just a couple of things to be looking forward to. Other than that, I truly appreciate all of you, and I can't wait to get to know you all better.
Excellent. Thanks, Mike. Okay. Future meeting dates. According to the agenda, our next meeting is Wednesday, September 8th. And my presumption is it'll be on Zoom unless we get some significant notice otherwise. Is that accurate? Okay, good. And then the one following that is Wednesday on October 13th. Any other news or ideas or discussion for the good of the order? Do I need to have a movement for?
Candy's got her hand up, Chair.
Oh, I'm sorry, Candy. It's up in the upper left-hand corner.
I had a couple things I'd sent to Mike, but I just wanted to make sure you guys were updated. The renaming of the Milwaukee Center will be going to the NCPRD board next week, to the Milwaukee Community Center. And just to let you guys know, we're still planning to have our last movie on Saturday. So if it's not over 100 degrees and we don't get baked out, we have, I think, Toy Story 4 that will be at the Concord school property. And just so that you are aware, we do have some programs that are being canceled due to the heat, those that are outside and in the heat. And at this time, the aquatic park plans to continue with regular operations during our little heat wave. So, and again, thank you all for all of your support and time with this district advisory committee, because we all appreciate it, and look forward to continuing to move forward with all of these things that we've got going on and bringing them to you.
Thank you. So Mike, you said you are a resident Robert's Rules of Order expert. Some meetings, the chair calls it adjourn, and some you ask for a motion. What is the preferred method in Robert's?
Preferred method is the chair saying, you've asked them if there's any further business, and if there's no reply, you can say we stand adjourned.
Okay, is there any further business? We stand adjourned at 6:49. Thank you. See you all next time.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye-bye.